They were just imagining a machine made of music. You feel what you don't see. It rides through your vessels, connecting you to a sea of ancestors who prayed you would be free. And everything you see, they were just imagining.
My mother's from Ethiopia. My father's Scottish, Irish, Native American. He was an anti-war organizer in the late 70s. My mom was an Ethiopian immigrant to the South End that had just moved in. I feel like I am a South End story. Like, I feel like my parents wouldn't have met in anywhere, in any other setting than the South End. I want to hear these songs and I want to hear these stories because they're not being told anywhere else.
Java Love was a comic book shop. El Centro had a full court where it's just that parking lot. And South trying to cross the street, man, that was a spot. Beacon Hill made me, raised me and broke my heart. Living on 15th when I knew it, I forever rock High Street. First song recorded on Coquita Block, Pearl Street. The legacy, the destiny that's living on everything I touch now. Everyone I love is somehow affected by my home on Beacon. We say
my uncle knew that I needed a place, and he said, if you want to pay $200 a month, you can go stay in, your grandma's place in Yesler Terrace. And that was kind of how I got out of being homeless. I don't know if it was the housing authority or if it was a neighbor that complained, but somehow the housing authority found out that it wasn't an old Ethiopian woman living in this place anymore, and it was like 3 younger dudes, and they changed the locks. Apparently my stuff, like all of my belongings, were actually in that Yesler Terrace apartment for 6 more months. And no one told us. No one was paying rent. No one was living there. Our things were just in there for hella long. And I'd already given up. I'm talking about my record collection, all of my journals, everything that I owned, I thought was gone. And I'd given up on it. And it was kind of a liberating feeling, actually. When you lose everything, you see that your things don't really make you. You know what I mean? At all. Little to my knowledge, they hadn't been thrown out. And when they finally did get thrown in the dumpster and everything did go in the dumpster, there was a neighbor that saw some records and saw some journals. And he decided to save those things. He found my voicemail number in one of the books and called me and said, I think I found some things that are going to be of value to you. And I happened to check my voicemail, ran over to Yesler Terrace, and this guy saved all my records and my journals. I was like, wow, dude, you were a godsend. So when I'm going through the dumpster, I'm finding my grandmother's rosary, family photographs, her books, all this stuff mixed with my stuff, all in the fucking dumpster. The trippiest moment of it all is as I'm leaving the dumpster and I'm just feeling wow, I did what I could. I just got my head down, I'm looking at the ground, and there's a photograph of my mom and my grandmother sitting on the ground looking at me. And I just picked it up. I was like, wow. I'm thinking about just that visceral, that feeling that's I don't have words for it, but just that gut feeling of just raw, your life is in the dumpster, Not just your life, but your grandmother's life has been thrown in a dumpster, and you're picking up the pieces.
My city blew up, but I don't see myself. Why? I still make music to free myself. I exist without your permission. Foundational to the buildings you live in. Laid over black folks' bones. Historical omission. The styles went main.
I was taking the 60 from Beacon Hill and went right through Yesler Terrace, and the place where my grandma lived, the last place that she knew was home, was a hole in the ground. And it was just such a shocking feeling. We don't have any low-income housing at all. Yesler Terrace was the last one. That's gonna be it for that whole era of low-income housing and the communities that develop and blossom in those places. I'm gonna make authentic music for my entire life. I think the musician's really only responsibility is to tell a story that's true.
How could you understand the pain when you never had to stand under the rain? When when it rains it pours, and it's about to come down. Oh, thank God I found you. My whole city lacks vitamin D. Growing up, my favorite producer was Vitamin D. Before we Intercontinental collaborated with ease, I was Beacon Hill, South End to CD, downtown to All City, rocking it wherever the ciphers lit. I was probably the beatbox that ignited it. If it wasn't sun, we were hungry and young, ready to battle anyone. Fools hated when we showed them no respect at all. With our backs to the wall, though, used to sleep on the floor and wear a son's coat. When I didn't have my own, I'll share anything I own. That's just how we have grown up. Love for all my close ones who thrive with no funds, watching music take us from unknown to a worldwide touch. It's cliche to say, but hip-hop saved us, and I'm still on the bus stop. What? How could you run